Foster Stafford arrived at Edgarhall University with 2 suitcases, a threadbare winter coat, and a scholarship letter he checked twice daily to reassure himself. The letter seemed unreal, a clerical mistake that had slipped through the cracks. Someone, somewhere, had meant to say no, but for some reason, they said yes. Edgarhall was a monument to inherited certainty. Marble courtyards gleamed, even in the heavy rain of late fall. Ivy crawled over stone walls, trying to strangle the past, but without success. Library entrances bore names that were more like brands and legacies. The names resonated of senators, judges, ports, and pipelines. The students with those names cruised through campus with the relaxed arrogance of the elite, untouched by ordinary life. Foster studied harder than anyone. He sat reading in a table lamp's pool of light until dawn. He memorized case law, economic models, and historical footnotes. He learned how to be invisible. He disciplined himself to stop staring when classmates talked about internships that came with cars, apartments, and assistants. He was in another world, but he still believed that effort could compete with pedigree. That belief lasted just 1 semester. A plain envelope appeared under his dorm door on a Thursday night. It was thick and heavy, cream-colored paper that whispered money. His name was handwritten in dark red ink. The wax seal bore a sword crossed with a crown. Foster frowned, then his stomach clenched. No explanation was needed. Everyone at Edgarhall knew what the seal meant, even if no one admitted it in public. It was from the Crimson Oath, a society within the university that was so exclusive that it was officially not recognized. Even rumors about its existence or activities were met with stern rebukes, or worse. The members included senators' children, 2 hedge fund heirs, and a Saudi prince who claimed to be studying comparative literature. They met beneath the university in chambers older than the nation, rooms lined with portraits of former members. Their faces stared down from old gold leaf frames, eyes following you as you moved, eyes that had seen wars start with handshakes. Foster went to the place at the appointed time because refusing was not an option. They blindfolded him and led him down a staircase that smelled of damp stone and iron. Candles flickered, voices murmured. Someone pressed a glass into his hand. He sipped as instructed. It was sweet champagne that was still sparkling decades after it was first bottled. He knelt. He swore oaths he barely understood. Silence, loyalty, sacrifice. Then they placed a snake on his wrist. It was warm, alive, its muscles flowing like liquid wire. It coiled slowly, tasting his skin with a tongue that flicked like a threat. Foster felt terror claw at his throat, but his iron discipline took hold. He did not move. Everyone in the room watched. The snake did not bite. Foster was safe. When the blindfold came off, several members smiled. After that, Foster's world cracked open. He attended rooftop galas where the city lay below like conquered territory. He observed poker in secret rooms where 6-figure bets were tossed onto green felt tabletops without ceremony. He listened to conversations spoken softly, but weighted with authority. That's when he learned that markets didn't fluctuate, they were nudged, and that elections weren't contested, they were arranged. For the first time in his life, Foster believed the future he had imagined might actually exist. Ivy League, personal power, and a permanent escape from poverty. It was about this time that Charleston Ward noticed him. Or, more correctly, Ward let Foster know that he had noticed him. Ward was the chairman of Crimson Oath. Old money had distilled into something lethal. He always wore black and gray, like a man permanently in mourning for something only he remembered. His somber face was young, smooth, and seemingly untroubled by the consequences of the ordinary world. One night, after pouring a double scotch that cost more than Foster's monthly rent, Ward said in a hoarse voice, "You're not like some of the others. They're full and lazy. Some are disloyal. You're empty and ready to pounce. The words landed like a diagnosis. Foster knew that Ward was right about him. Then the real offer came. A parent of one of the members sat on a federal advisory board. Classified financial intelligence leaked to him, unstoppable like heat. It became clear that the US president, cornered by debt and political fracture, was preparing a radical move. He was planning to revalue gold and silver to avoid, or more likely, to try to manage a massive financial collapse. If he could contain the landslide only to the finance sector, he would be pleased with his efforts. Otherwise, the entire nation would be plunged into chaos. If the revaluations worked, then certain commodities would explode. That was a small price to pay. On the other side, generational fortunes would be made overnight. The Crimson Oath Society intended to trade ahead of any presidential action or publicly announced decree. There was just one small hurdle. What Ward and his supporters in the society had planned was illegal. They needed someone invisible, someone not already being watched, someone without a last name that triggered alarms. They needed Foster. He told himself it was just information. He believed that every powerful player in the world had cheated somewhere along the line to get there. So he went ahead. He executed trades through the layered accounts that Ward and the others built for him, watching numbers inflate into obscene abundance. In return came hand-tailored suits, a car and a driver, and introductions to donors who casually promised to make a call to the admissions board of the most prestigious Ivy League universities. Then there was disturbing news. Although the story never got out, a sophomore was found drowned in a reflecting pool in one of the courtyards on campus. The coroner announced that the case would remain open for the time being. He believed it was either an accident or suicide. Unofficially, everyone in the society knew it was an execution. Some were very displeased. Some sought revenge. Foster overheard the truth in a whispered argument behind a locked door. The sophomore, the society's latest recruit, had panicked. She threatened to talk to the authorities. She'd broken the first oath. Using gestures rather than words, Ward ordered silence, and that meant eternal silence. Foster now knew the truth, and something inside of him fractured. He began digging, quietly, carefully. The deeper he went, the worse it became. The Crimson Oath wasn't a college society. It was a recruitment engine. The members cultivated influence early, bound the innocent and naive with their crimes, and deployed them into government, finance, and the media. They were trapped for life. When his spies told him about Foster's investigations, Ward summoned and confronted him beneath Edgarhall. Flickering candlelight rippled across the stern portraits of the dead and powerful. Ward took a slow, wheezing breath. You think exposure is freedom. It is not. It's just another leash. Security tightened around Foster. All his accounts were monitored. His phone glitched with his screen jolting with phantom taps. The wealth Foster received revealed itself for what it was. It was bait. The Centennial Gala arrived in a flood of crystal and light. Senators laughed beneath chandeliers. CEOs clinked glasses. Cameras flashed. Foster smiled, shook hands, then executed his final move. He leaked everything to a financial journalist with a reputation for fearlessness. He detailed the illegal trades, provided hundreds of screenshot messages, and listed the passwords to encrypted app accounts. He disguised the information as a routine donor data transfer. The journalist was delighted. Chaos followed. Investigations ignited. Arrests made headlines. Resignations fell like dominoes. Charleston Ward vanished. Foster's bank accounts froze. His invitations evaporated. No Ivy League admissions board ever called. On a dark night, he walked across campus one final time, feeling stripped clean. His phone buzzed. It was a text message that said, "You chose morality over power. Most don't survive that choice. We'll be watching." He slipped the phone into his pocket and kept walking. 3 days later, the journalist died in an unusual car fire. The coroner's investigation stalled. In the end, the cause was never determined. By then, Foster understood. His leak hadn't stopped anything. The blow he delivered had been absorbed. The Crimson Oath Society hadn't fallen. It had simply been culled. Foster moved to the south, hoping to disappear. He rented a small bungalow in a country town. Late one afternoon, as he was walking from his car to the front door, he noticed a dark car idling near his driveway. Ward stepped out, unaged and seemingly untroubled. He carried a small black briefcase. Foster froze in horror. He expected the worst. Ward hurried toward him, breathing heavily. He raised his hand in greeting. "I just wanted to say thanks. You did exactly what we needed. You flushed out the weak, the careless, the loud." Foster backed away, heart pounding. Ward smiled coldly. He took a rasping breath and said, "Hunger like yours doesn't escape. It ascends." 2 men suddenly appeared from the car. In a moment, they grabbed Foster, holding him in place. Ward opened his briefcase and drew out a snake that twisted and hissed at him. Foster had last seen it during the initiation. Then, one of the men snatched the snake from Ward's grip and handed it to Foster. At lightning speed, the snake stretched out and speared its fangs into Ward's wrist. He screamed at the sudden pain. Then the men eased the snake into Ward's briefcase and dragged his limp body to the car, shoving him into the back seat. Before they drove away, the driver looked up at Foster, smiled, and mouthed the words, "Thank you." At that moment, Foster knew for sure that the world was run by invisible hands. Then he began to wonder, was he now one of them?